on.
The constant, like, how we did the Pope thing today. He's fucking furious about it. But I was like, this is what they do. Like, they do these things to rile people up. And it's like, what is
They're full on trolling.
I don't even know, how do you tariff foreign films?
How do you what?
Tariff foreign films.
I didn't even hear about that.
This is the newest one. He's now like...
Hold on, we're not... Is this off the record?
I don't care. This is all stuff I'm going to talk about on air anyways.
Just get to the car. So what the
fuck?
Welcome to Millennials and Cars Crashing Out.
That's not a bad name.
Okay, so we have our first guest today in the car. This is Kristin Brey. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Kristin Brey. I'm a radio host at WTMJ 620 AM. I'm a columnist at Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. And I started As Goes Wisconsin, which is still alive. It's on life support right now, but that was how I got these other jobs. So we'll still claim it.
What would you call yourself? Like, how do you categorize what you do?
I pretty much now say I'm a radio host, columnist, and video creator. Multi-hyphenate.
All the best ones are.
Yeah, like I feel like it's somewhere between, like I don't consider myself a journalist, even though people call me that, because I feel like I don't do, besides like interviewing people, which I do, like I don't do a ton of like firsthand reporting. Like I'm not
like going through court records.
I'm not going through court records. I'm not going through the budget. I'm not like sitting at the city hall meetings. And so there's certain things like that when it comes to journalism that like I don't want to take that title from the people who are doing that like painstaking work.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm more in the like pundit, commentator, translator business.
Yeah. Okay. And
but not actually translating because I only speak English, which is embarrassing.
Well, we're all doing the best we can. So you just started a new radio show, or you got moved to a new slot.
I moved to a new show. So
yeah, tell us what it's like yapping with a Republican for 2 hours every day.
It's funny because he hates when I say this.
Then let's say it.
No. So he's a never Trumper Republican.
Okay.
He's been never Trumper since the beginning, but he was so Steve
since the Golden Escalator.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like so Steve was the mayor of Oak Creek when the Sikh shooting happened.
Oh, right. Okay.
And so that was kind of like I don't want to say like put him on the map is such a weird like term to associate with a fucking tragedy. But as far as I think I wasn't living here at that point. But I think how he handled that kind of up-leveled his name recognition. Mm-hmm. And so when Charlie Sykes whatever he did, he's done multiple things. We left WTMJ after having that show for 20-some years. And they were trying to throw out names of who to bring on. Despite him not having a background in radio, they picked Steve. So Steve came on basically in 2016 with the rise of Trump, and from the get-go was like, this is not my guy. Mm-hmm. But he considers himself a fiscal conservative, limited government, which is all true. And there's just like, he's just like a boomer man. So there's certain things where like, I'm just going to have a different, like pop culture and some of that stuff. Like I asked him if he's ever gone to a drag show. He's never gone to a drag show. It's like, can I get you to a drag show? He goes, no. Yeah.
Well, sometime we'll have him on the car show, and we'll just put him in the back, and we'll bring him to a drag show against.
Exactly.
As well.
And they're like, oh, we're doing this. And so I said, but like, I also think he wouldn't storm out like if we were to bombard him like that. And so there's certain things like we did one of our podcast episodes
because you would have a great time.
Yes, and like we did one of our podcast episodes on OnlyFans. So like he's not a prude in the way that he can't talk about. So it's like there's certain things like that where socially he's much more open-minded than I think the stereotype of someone who's so proud to be a conservative would be. Mm-hmm. But he very much is like, I'm a Republican, I'm a conservative, they stole my party.
So there's if you guys are like a Venn diagram, well, and you're not like, I mean, I know you don't call yourself anything, but there's like common ground you guys find every day.
Yeah.
Most days.
Yeah. I would say most days, certainly on the Trump stuff, like we have to be careful because it's like, I don't want our show to sound like a pile-on of us just like bitching about Trump.
Yeah.
Because that's not interesting.
It's certainly not.
Radio.
No.
I mean, to each their own. Like I guess that's kind of what the podcast bros do. But like they have a lot of like policy background,
right,
and anecdotes to bring to it, versus just like this sucks. What new fresh hell do we have today?
What new fresh hell do we have today? So we were just talking about that. Like, how do you cover what's going on without just, like, covering the circus? Because, yeah, to your point, they're just, I think they're just trolling now. I mean, the 2028 thing, all of the AI photos with the Pope and the whatever.
With Star Wars.
Yeah.
Star Wars, like, much less offensive than the Pope. Especially because, like, the conclave is basically starting on Wednesday. And, like,
so people were offended by the Pope? Yeah. Okay.
I mean, yeah, like, if you read a lot of the feedback on, I don't know, I mean, how do you ever take a pulse on those things? But, like, even the cardinal who has Wisconsin ties, Cardinal Dolan, who I think is out in New York now, who Trump had, basically, when Trump first was interviewed, like, oh, who do you think should be the next Pope? And his initial reaction was like, I think I'd make a good Pope. Which I do think is a joke, but of course he said it. And then he went on to say that he liked Dolan. And I saw this morning as I was reading this, like, Dolan was asked about it. And he goes, well, it wasn't good. And I don't know if he said it in that tone, but that was the quote at least written, is like, well, it wasn't good. And so
Which says a lot.
Yes. And so I think everyone who has any kind of Catholic leadership has been like, and so, yeah, so there was that stuff. There's, as of this morning / yesterday, he now wants to reignite Alcatraz and send prisoners back to Alcatraz. I used to live in San Francisco. I've done the night tour of Alcatraz. It's not an habitable place.
Is it? I had a question about that. Is it like...
now it's like a museum.
So the walls are standing, and
The
it's
walls
like
are
you can walk
standing.
through. It's there. It's not like when you're watching The Last of Us and everything's in rubble with vines growing on it.
It's like a bit. Like, it's enough of a structure to go and, like, see what, like, the prison cells are still there. You can see what, like, the maximum security part was. You can see the, like, what's crazy is, like, how close it is to San Francisco.
Yeah.
And, like, that part's wild. What's also crazy is, like, San Francisco's not a warm place most of the time.
Right.
And how cold it gets just with, like, being wind, like, the wind flying through all the time. But it's not, like, the infrastructure of it to have any kind of humanity in, like, housing prisoners.
We know that's not part of the
exactly.
prerequisite.
But yeah, you can. It only holds like 380 people or something like that.
Well, again, do you think he's serious about this, or do you think, like, this is what happens when we elect a reality show?
No, I think he was probably watching TV and, like, The Rock came on.
Well, right. And I think, like, this will get people to pay attention because a lot of people don't know who, like, Stephen Miller is, but they know what Alcatraz is. You know?
Yeah.
So people who aren't really engaged in politics, maybe their ears perk up because they watched a good primetime show on it one time that was, like, super...
Escape from Alcatraz?
Yeah, or whatever.
I thought The Rock is Sean Connery.
There was a J.J. Abrams show about Alcatraz that was going to come out. I don't think I ever watched it, and maybe it didn't come out, but I was really excited because I was a huge Lost fan.
What's the last thing J.J. Abrams did?
I don't know.
Trek?
He's probably Gracie Abrams' momager now.
That's his daughter.
Yes.
Holy shit.
She's a legit Nepo baby, though, because she's very, very good. But yes, that's J.J. Abrams' daughter.
I did not know that. Do you know that? Did you watch The Pit yet?
No, not yet. Did you finish it?
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
Okay.
But there's specifically Bryan Cranston's daughter is, like, one of the best characters in it. Yeah.
God damn it.
And she's really good.
Why couldn't we have been Nepo babies?
It's funny. This is a funny story as far as, like,
Oh, you are?
No. I mean, in the sense that, like, I had parents who supported me and, like...
Oh, also, I do have a Diet Coke and some animal crackers down there if you want a snack.
Like, my parents supported me and, like, I had a safety net, but as far as their ability to get me jobs in any of the things I've ever wanted to do, not at all. And so, but when I've had such a kind of, like, came out of nowhere in the Wisconsin media scene here, when I first got the radio show at WTMJ, which was, like, historically a more conservative radio station, I guess there was some comment on, like, some Facebook post of, like, where'd this chick come from? Who's her dad?
Oh my god.
And so,
never who's her mom?
I mean, think about the people who are posting that.
Yeah, that's true.
At least about me.
No, just on Facebook in general, I think. Okay, so why did you want... So, first of all, let's back up a second. when did you graduate? 2004 or 2005?
High school, 2004.
Okay, so I'm 2005. You
Yeah.
went to Madison West.
Yeah.
I went to Middleton.
But yeah, then I was a year ahead of you at West. But then I left my junior year to be an actress
Oh, you did?
in LA. Yeah.
How did that happen?
So I grew up doing theater and playing basketball and a lot of sports.
You weren't drinking in cornfields like me?
I was drinking. Like, that's the thing does it ever shock you how much alcohol you had access to in high school?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like, my group of friends, like, we all went to college. We all were basically, like, national honor roll, whatever, all the, like, the things. Like, we're all, like, good kids. And somehow we had access to booze, like, every single weekend.
Yeah. So how did it happen that you went out to LA when you were a junior?
So I had a local agent, so someone who, like, gets you, like, Kohl's commercials and stuff like that. And kind of at the last minute, they were like, we're going to this talent thing in LA. You should come. My parents were like, they didn't come with me, but they were like, sure. I think my dad says in his story later, like, he thought I'd fail and I'd then focus on basketball and, like, give up the acting thing. And my dad played basketball for the Badgers, so we were very big.
Oh.
Yeah, we're a
okay.
big basketball family. Went out there, did well, and I had like 10 different agents and managers being like, you should come out for pilot season.
Okay.
And so it's like the time of the year where there was always the most amount of auditions, so it was like the biggest bang for your buck if you were going to do a trial run.
And this was like the height of like TV.
This was 2002.
Okay.
So yeah, 2002, I went out there, my dad and I went out there for like a trial. I got a lot of callbacks. I tested once, I think. Maybe that was the next year. But I did well enough where my agent and my manager were like, you should probably just move here full time.
Wow.
And so then my parents came with me.
What?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so my senior year, I graduated high school with Stephen Miller.
What?
I did not know this until his rise to fame, but he went to Santa Monica High School,
Okay,
and that is
really?
where I graduated high school.
You really buried the lead.
I always forget that. I always forget that fucking fascist actually went to Santa Monica High School.
Did you listen to that Daily episode where they were talking about him in high school?
That's how I always forget about that, because like it was a super, as you might imagine, it's a super liberal, like on the beach.
Do
basically.
you remember his campaign?
No. I don't remember him. I don't remember, like, I was also at that point I was like, I just got to get done with high school.
Right.
Like I made friends, but I wasn't like trying to embed myself into the class. And so, but yeah, because I think he was 2004. So I think.
Yeah, he's under 40 years old, even though he looks like he,
Hate will do
Voldemort.
that to you.
I know. Did you do certain shows?
So I did, I was in a coma in Judging Amy.
Okay.
And I was supposed to wake up, but when it actually aired, I did not wake up. So that was embarrassing.
I could play a coma very well,
Yeah.
I think. That's the one thing
that
I could
doesn't
probably
take a lot
do.
of
Yeah.
acting skill. I was on The Unit
Okay.
with Scott Foley. Total babe.
I don't know who that is.
Scandal.
Which one?
The CIA agent.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. He was on Felicity. He's been on a bunch of different stuff.
Okay.
Very nice. The nicest guy.
Did you audition for Felicity?
No, that was before my time.
Okay. I was going to say, that was a little older. Okay.
So did scenes with Scott Foley. He was awesome. I did 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter.
Oh, yeah.
I got to choke David Spade.
What?
Fake choke David Spade. That was really fun.
That is fun.
And I got to throw out the Chris Farley Wisconsin card.
Okay.
I did Without a Trace, an episode Without a Trace, and I was like a slutty, got thrown out in like the snow in my underwear, had a New York accent. And then I did a couple of different independent movies, including a girls' basketball movie where I scored the winning half-court shot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you actually make the shot?
I actually made the shot. So my dad was very proud of that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crossover. When did you get sick of it or decide to come back? Or
So then around 20 years old, I started taking classes at Santa Monica College, the community college, for fun because I was like kind of bored. And I realized I was good at school. Because like in high school, you know how you, like, you have your identity in high school of like my friends, like one of my best friends, like she was the 4.0, like thinking about what college she was going to, like she was the really good student. I got good grades, but I wasn't in all like the advanced bio or like I didn't do like calculus. So it's like I kind of had this self-limiting expectation about, well, I'm like kind of smart, but like I'm the theater athlete versus being like a smart kid who's good at school.
Yeah.
And it, like, by taking time off from high school before I started taking classes, and then when I started taking classes, I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting, this is kind of fun, and, like, I'm actually good at it. Mm-hmm. And so then kind of my entire life, I had only ever thought I was going to be an actress. Mm-hmm. And so by going to class, and like kind of realizing being an actress, like, you have very little control over especially then, because this was like as YouTube became a thing. And so I was quitting right as the opportunity to be a content creator and just like create your own destiny in a certain extent became an option. Up until then, I still would stand, like, I'll die in the hill of why that social media is a good thing for this purpose, is like, there's so many gatekeepers. Like, there's so many gatekeepers from your ability to get the audition. Even if you get the audition, the casting director, you have to get cast in the thing. But even if you get cast in the thing and you film the thing has to be successful, right? And you're not, like, especially movies, but also TV, like, actors get a lot of the, like, the fame, but they're very kind of removed from, like, the final product of how good it is, let alone how it's marketed. And so, like, the ability for you to have a career that has any kind of, like, attention and, like, longevity is so out of your control of just being a talented person. And as I started to put that together, I was like, I want a little bit more control. Yeah. So it was kind of just, like, enough things fell into place that I was like, I think I should go to college. And so because the community college in California, like, the system is so good, if you follow if you get good grades and you take these classes, like, the transfer rate into the UC system is super high. Okay. So I ended up getting to transfer to UC Berkeley and graduate from Berkeley. Oh. So that's how I ended up. And then there was when I did more, like, big shock. I was I made my own major, but it was interdisciplinary studies with a combination of political science, public health, and women's studies. Okay. Big shock. And then a minor in public policy. But then I got a job in tech when I graduated.
And then you went to San Francisco, right?
And then I lived in San Francisco and I worked in, like, B2B software tech companies. Okay. Doing sales and, like, managing tech bros, which was a right turn.
Who is more insufferable, tech bros or politicos?
I'm going to say tech bros because, like, I now love some of the politicos and they're insufferable in other ways. But I still will sign on, like, you know, LinkedIn will, like, send you the updates from people you're connected with on LinkedIn of, like, the things that they're saying. Yes. So because especially since I worked in sales, most of my contacts on LinkedIn are all tech, like, sales folks. And some of their fucking updates are just the most insufferable things I've ever.
LinkedIn is, like, hell.
Like, the, like, faux inspo, like, listicles.
Oh my God.
That they post is, like, attempting to be a thought leader.
Yeah.
And in
how to be successful in your life.
B2B SaaS, like, made up name, stupid name for their startup. Yeah, it's a lot of, like, self-importance. And yeah. So I'll say the tech bros.
Yeah. At least, like, the politicos, some of them are trying to help people.
Well, I think that's the difference, right? Because that becomes so many of those you buy into, especially if it's B2B software. Mm-hmm. Like, there's something to be said as far as whether you like Uber or not. Uber, like, actually changed the world. Airbnb, to a certain sense, changed. There's certain products that revolutionize how we do something. Yep. But those are mostly B2C products. Yep. Like, B2B software and, like, trying to pretend the impact that you're having on the world is, like, the biggest crock of shit ever. At least with politics, like, it is impacting stuff.
Right. Maybe, like, the B2B people should actually use that to help, like, build out better infrastructure in politics.
So the company I worked for, Optimizely, Dan Soroker worked on the Obama campaign in 2008. That was the origin story of the company he started, was because he was on the Obama digital team doing the A/B testing for, like, what translated into more donations on Obama's page.
So we have him to thank for all the emails and the text messages.
And so then when he left the Obama campaign, he started an A/B testing company. Did you guys? I mean,
and now this is where we're at.
You never used something like Optimizely?
Yes, yeah, we did, and yes. So that's why, like, coming from marketing and advertising to
Yeah, you know this shit as much as I do.
Yes, but it's...
Especially the client life of just like, oh, yes, let me get right on that.
Mm-hmm. But it's
super important.
But now it's interesting because then we've like obviously tested into this nightmare situation where like everything is over tested and all of these people think that they have the answers and nobody has the answer.
Yeah.
Like nobody could still explain what happened and what is happening and why it's happening.
Yeah. Where's
the software for that? You know? But they can test what makes more money. And so they raise over $1 billion. But then they don't know what to do with it.
They don't know what to do with it. Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on, like, from being because you play many roles, you also play a content creator, and you did. Mm-hmm. In this last election cycle, we were at the DNC, and what do you think about that? What do you think about content creation in general, and especially, like, in the political or, like, mission-driven space?
I think it's really important, but because I think it's like so many of the people you and I met are like, talk about being hyphenates, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm a lawyer and I make content. I'm a
there's some
OBGYN
very impressive ones.
and I make content. Like, it's like people who are using their expertise in what stuff that they actually know and then making content from that. And so I think that like that lends itself to something. And I think, but what's hard is the making money, right? And I think this is like, there's something to be said about like podcasts or the radio or these traditional media where it's like, this is an ad. Mm-hmm. We are putting an ad on this piece of content you are about to enjoy. And like, it is very clear that those are two different things. And it's like the trying to figure out the monetary model for someone who creates quality educational, political content that it doesn't like necessarily lend itself to traditional like brand deals that like lifestyle influencers do.
Yeah.
Because it's like the lifestyle brands are like, well, I don't. Mm-hmm. And then, but it's also then like your integrity and your stuff of like getting money to post something. You're like, well, I guess I would be posting this anyways. But then if they have like an extra ask for what they want you to do, you're like, well, that feels like it's just. That's the thing that becomes hard as far as the actual model itself and what you have to try to do while keeping your integrity and still growing in a way that like you can monetize. Mm-hmm. That's the hard part. Like the value that it provides, I think for the people who do it really well and like actually do it in a thoughtful way and fact check and are not trying to just create clickbait and actually provide information into the world in like digestible ways.
Yeah.
I think is super, super important. There's just like still some missing pieces as far as how it is sustainable. So the creators themselves don't burn out, but then there's also not like incentivizing the wrong things. So like bad actors put more bad information out there. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think even the ones who do it really well and have big followings, like a lot of people still have regular jobs. Like most people, most people can't do it as a career.
I don't know. Like I don't even know how you make as much content as you do. Being a mom of two, like I get home. I mean, and granted, like I have to remind myself that like the column and the radio show are content, right? Yeah. Beyond getting my mind of like, oh, I wanted to make a video about that. But like I get home and I'm just like, I don't know what I have to say. You know, it's because it's burnout, right? As far as like how much do you have to be putting out there all the time?
Well, that's the other thing too. When you're a content creator, like a lot of like traditional content creators can batch film their content and they can talk about certain things, mm-hmm. and it's less tied to like timeliness. The news, yeah. Whereas what we are doing, it is more tied to that. And so I think you almost just have to like, when something's going on and you get an idea about it, you almost just have to be able to like execute on it right then. Otherwise, if I don't do that 2 days later, I'm like, don't care about that anymore. Nobody cares about that anymore. So you have to be able to do it. And like now where I am trying to like make this a career, I do have the bandwidth to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. But I'm still not like, I make most of my money in like consulting jobs or things like that. Like I don't make money on content creation.
Yeah.
And I feel weird even asking my audience for, like, to pay for a membership or something like that because it's supposed to be, like, for the greater good.
Well, and also it's hard to monetize content because, like, that way, I mean, traditional, like, huge places are, like, because there's so much free content.
Yeah.
It's like, the paywall, like democracy dies behind a paywall, right?
But the paywalls suck.
And that is, but it's also, it's like, but this is, I think we talked about the guy who wrote Sapiens. He has a new book called Nexus, and it's Yuri something.
Okay.
I'm gonna be embarrassed that I don't know his name. I forgot if I shared this quote, clip with you, but he was on Bill Maher, and he was talking about how the truth is expensive. And he was talking about, like, the resources to the time, like the resources both in, like, you have to pay someone, the time to, like, fact check something and vet something, and, like, everything that it actually takes to produce something that is true is expensive versus, like, fiction is cheap. Mm-hmm. And so in that sense, like, the information that you're willing to pay for, whether that's through, like, a more traditional media outlet like the New York Times or whoever, like, whatever place that actually has an editorial board and, like, fact checkers, like, that is still a valuable place to put your money. But then it's also trying to support your favorite independent media person who like, their overhead is less, but they're still, like, scraping by trying to, like, create this thing that provides a different value than this big thing. But the big thing's still struggling to create the truth, right? Not create the truth, but find the truth and report on the truth. And so it's...
And get people to care about the truth.
And so, like, that is, like, making money off of content. It's like the fucking bell curve is not, that's not what I wanted. But it's just like, there's some people who are making so much money from it. Mm-hmm. But... Yeah,
the clickbaiters.
Is
the
that
outrage bait.
Like, I just don't
and the
understand.
white men.
So, like, they just did Hassan... Have you looked into Hassan Piker yet? Our friend who told you to check out this... He's, like, Twitches, like, 8 hours a day.
No.
He was at the DNC. So I have friends who, like... Literally, so he was at the DNC, and he was on my scavenger hunt.
Okay.
So I went up and, like, got a picture with him for my scavenger hunt. And he was, like... Because he literally live streams himself. Like, he has, like, someone whose full-time job is to, like, film him. And I had at least 3 different people either DM or text me being like, oh, I just saw you on Hassan's live stream. So, like, people just watch him all day. It's like the people who watch gamers. Like, what?
Wait, he's not playing a game. He's
not playing a game. He's just, like, living his life and, like, talking about stuff at any given time. I don't know. I have never watched it.
Good for him, but
he
like...
he makes a lot of money. Candace Owens obviously makes a lot of money. Like, there's some of these people who have figured it out. And it's like...
Well, Candace Owens, the right has figured it out. They, like, pay...
And that's the thing. There's people who pay.
Right.
There's, like, Russian oligarchs who are paying or whatever. Who would you not take money from? Like, I think that's the thing. It's like, and this becomes back to the integrity thing, right? As like, wanting to know who, like, that was the thing that was so funny to me, being at the DNC and all the traditional media people having, like, whatever pieces that they wrote that were kind of shitty about the creator program. And then not a month later, I think it was, like, literally a couple of weeks later, the big story broke about all of these, like, Benny Johnson and all those guys who were getting paid by, like, Tim Pool, I think that's his name, getting paid by, like, an unknown, like, they didn't check the source.
Yeah.
And basically it was, like, Russian oligarchs, like, trying to feed them propaganda. And, like, they still all have careers.
Of course
like,
they do.
How did you not lose credibility?
I don't think credibility really exists on the right. It's more, like, just about perception and the narrative they're shaping and, like, how many eyeballs they can get. I mean, but to answer your question, who would I not take money from? It's not like I haven't ever had to turn down something because nobody has ever asked me to say something that didn't align with what I wanted to say. And also, it's not like that many people are coming and knocking with their checkbooks. It's, like, really not a lot. But I definitely wouldn't. I mean, everybody always is saying in the comments, like, oh, look at all this Soros money. I'm like, please, I would love some Soros money. George and family, if you want to sponsor this series, I would take your money. But I think, I mean, I would say no to, like I don't drink, so I would not take money from, like, an alcohol industry.
Would you take money from Quick Trip?
No.
Would you take money from Culver's?
Yes. Would you take money from Quick Trip?
No. It was interesting because for, like, a hot second I had I was trying to work with the same guy who works with like Charlie Barron's and Alex Worley and a lot of these like Midwest creators and some athletes. And I think I just didn't have a big enough following to be that interesting for them, which is fine. But they had pitched me to Quick Trip. And he said, "It's like, I think we're like," I was in like the final pitch, and like Alex definitely did get it.
Yeah.
But I had that moment of like, people who do follow me are gonna have things to say if I end up doing something for Quick Trip, because don't get me wrong, like I actually do think Quick Trip is a well-run company. I love that they take care of their employees. Like there's a lot of really good things about Quick Trip, and they happen to be huge Republican donors.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I'm not the right. That's just like a brand fit, even though like my integrity is what, like beyond that, it's also just like the people I might reach may or may not be thrilled about this.
Well, it's another thing that we have to consider when putting out content, because it's like, yes, what aligns with our values, but we also know like our audiences have pretty high standards of integrity, right? And they're not just integrity, but like they know things, you know what I mean? So like
they know stuff that I don't.
Certainly,
especially some of the history, like Wisconsin, like deep rooted, like some of the political stuff. Like this morning, I said it on air. I'm surprised no one corrected me. So we were quickly talking about Judge Dugan's legal team.
I would just, if I had a 2-hour live radio show every day, I would lie in bed at night wondering what I said and who, like, oh my God, I couldn't do that.
The amount of things I've said I've pronounced wrong on air is endless. But so this like former U.S. Solicitor General Paul, it's either Paul Clement or Paul Clemente, and I didn't know, and I didn't check before I said it out loud, and I was like, there's probably a lot of people out there who know exactly who I'm talking about, but like I only know him because in the last week people have been talking about how he's like the LeBron James of like a legal team or something like that.
Okay.
So I was trying to ask of like, what does this say about, and he was like a Bush administration guy.
Oh,
so I was like, what does this say about the fact that like she's getting this legal team together? And like I didn't get a great answer out of my.
It's like the shark of celebrity divorce attorneys.
Yeah. Like, who's the...
like, is that a good thing, or is that an E thing? Like,
well, no, I was like, is the motivation here for people who are coming out of the woodwork to be like, we have to protect the sanctity of the courtroom? Mm-hmm. Or, like, the sanctity of, like, protecting judges from getting arrested? Like, is that the motivation for someone, like, who's obviously probably been a Republican?
Yeah.
To come protect someone who is, you know, from what we know about her so far, seems like she's not a Republican. Mm-hmm. So I didn't get a straight answer, but I forgot why you even brought that up in the first place.
Oh, well, we were talking about Quick Trip and like that, our audience is just having high standards.
Oh yeah, so I learned that from learned about someone from, like, people texting me or DMing me, being like, hey, did you see who's on our legal team? And I was like, I have not yet, and then that's how I even find out.
Well, it's not even that they're like high standards, they just know all these things, and like Alex obviously has a thing going with Quick Trip, and that's great for her. She is more of a like Midwest lifestyle.
Oh, she does not
creator.
Touch politics.
No, and so it's like, and so probably people aren't going to give her crap for it. Like if I post about Menards, 90% of people are like, oh my God, the Menards jingle, and 10% of people are like, did you know John Menard is the devil? You know, and I'm like, I know, but like sometimes you got to go to Menards, okay, or make a joke, and like. Oh my God, I could never, not that I would want to, but like I couldn't post a Target affiliate link, you know, I would just be burned to the ground.
You could, a year ago they were like Black Lives Matter, like, yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of big corporations, ultimately, like huge corporations, if you dig far enough, you're going to find a lot of GOP support because...
Well, they also support everyone. Like a lot of them donate to both parties. Mm-hmm. So there's that aspect of it. And they're even more than who they donate to, it's the fact that like corporations exist to like maximize profits for shareholders.
Right. So yeah, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Are you like following any of the trending up stuff? Or do you have any FOMO?
I've barely been following it.
Okay.
I think maybe to avoid FOMO, but I also like
I don't have FOMO. No offense to Trending Up. I think it's a great conference and there's a bunch of awesome like political creators there.
Like it was fun. It's been fun to get to know like meeting the people at the DNC that we're now kind of like in the like we know better was fun. But it's also
there's like a weird psychology behind it, right?
I think it's like I feel like it's worrisome to get too insular. Mm-hmm. And I think it kind of goes back to where we started, where it's like I now it's like, where do you fit? How many different things do you do? Why do you do it? Who are you doing it for? And asking all of those questions. And like, I think for me, a lot of what, I don't know, like, it's just, my life is very big here.
Yeah.
Like, and like, I don't know about you, but like, I have no intention on leaving Wisconsin.
Mm-mm.
Like, unless I'm leaving the country.
Yeah.
There's nowhere else in the country I want to live.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, this thing that I had more in my 20s of like networking and like vying for the next job or being in a different, like, bigger media market or any of those things, like, is not there.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what, like, that's kind of when I feel like those conferences where it's like, oh, you're trying to like network. And, like,
yeah,
work in
it
your
is all
career.
networking, and there's definitely people that are like the main ones or get a lot of the opportunities, whether it's like financial opportunities or like to be on panels or to come to certain events and be like exclusively there. But they're the people who like can come to anything whenever. You know, it's like the more you show up and the more you go to stuff, the more opportunities you get, which makes sense. But when you have kids and you're here in Wisconsin and like other stuff going on, it's hard to do that. So like we're never going to be at that level.
Like, it was the same thing. There was like, wasn't there like a Christmas party or something this last year?
Mm-hmm.
That I was just like, I don't know. And I think, but I also, at this age, I had a little FOMO for the draft. Like, what?
The NFL draft?
The NFL draft. Like, there was a little bit of me that, because I didn't go at all. It was obviously right here. There was like a slight part of me that's like, oh, it would have been cool to go see that. But in general,
I think that's
at
like
this
normal
age,
FOMO though. Like normal.
I don't have that much FOMO about anything.
Me neither. I have the opposite.
Like
JOMO, joy of missing out.
Yeah, like I was just working on my Mother's Day piece, and like I very much do feel like the benefit of having kids later in life is like I got all that shit out.
Yeah.
And so there is not a day where I'm like, wish I didn't have a kid, you know, or like things were easier when, like, there's no party that I can't go to that I'm not like,
right.
Like, yeah. And so same thing with some of that stuff where it's, yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, and it always all like,
sorry
comes
if any
back
of them
around.
are watching this and be like,
No, I mean, like, there's some awesome people there, and it's always, there's so many people I would love to connect with in real life, because you, like, form these friendships basically in the DMs, and there's some people that I, like, feel like I know really well, but I've never met.
Yeah.
So these are cool opportunities to do that, and it sounds like they had a cool lineup of some, so, like, they had a panel this morning that I would love to know what they talked about of, like, how to get more money. But when they're telling all the people who are essentially competing against each other sometimes for some of this stuff too. That's the weird thing. It's like everybody supports each other, but also everybody's independent, right? I think.
and that is like the model of, that is what will be interesting to see. Like, there's on the one hand, media is changing, right? Like, I know that because I work for two very traditional media companies.
Yeah.
And I got those jobs because of my new media, like, pursuit. And so, like, you can't get around the fact that media is changing. But the thing that is scary is kind of going back to, like, the truth is expensive. Of, like, if there's more decentralizing of all this information, like, to actually scale any kind of real newsroom takes money and takes resources. Like, unless you're just like our good friend Dan, right? Like, ultimately, like, he sold the recombobulation area to Civic Media.
Yeah.
Because there's only so much you can do to scale your content, media, independent thing on your own.
Yeah.
To reach more people while you're still, like, especially because you get into it because you like a certain aspect of it. But once you're doing it all on your own, you have to be a business person. You have to do your finances. Like, there's all these other things of being a small business owner that all of a sudden you have to do that too, and not just do the thing that you like doing. You know all this. And so, so I think that's the thing with the media, with the new media influencers, content creators, like, the personality versus like a media outlet, because like media outlets have more resources because it takes more people to create that kind of quality of product.
Right. I don't know that anybody's really figured out a perfect model yet.
No.
I think there's a ton of imperfections, and probably, I mean, there's some good potential there, but I definitely don't think it's all figured out. I don't think it, like, there's no win-win situations quite yet. Mm-mm. And certainly for creators, it's not that great yet.
Well, unless you're like a lifestyle creator who's...
Yes, I certainly... Like,
some of those chicks, I'm like, why does million of people... Like, I'm not... I feel like you're more plugged in some of the pop culture stuff than I am.
Yeah.
And, like, some of these young, very cute women, I'm like, why do so many people watch you? Like, I'm just... so bored so quickly.
Well, I think, like, people...
I don't mean that to be, like, a sexist statement.
No,
but...
I mean, I think the parasocial relationship is real, right? And people are busy and lonely, and, you know, they find these people online that they just, like, can connect with. And, like, the more authentic they are, the more they connect with them. And so, you know... I think there's we could have a whole nother conversation about, like, motherhood and the parasocial relationships there, too. Because especially when you're a new mom, and there's so many hard things about being a mom in this country.
Oh, my God.
I think there's a lot of online personalities that, like, talk to you, and it's a very slippery slope. Yeah. Because that, I think, is what birthed the Maha movement, ultimately, is, like, women and moms being scared and being alone and not knowing, like...
And spending way too much on their phone while they're breastfeeding. That was me. My experience...
How else are you supposed to stay awake? Eat Starburst and look at your phone.
Frankie was born a week before October 7th.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
2023.
Okay.
And so the amount of time I was up in the middle of the night scrolling my phone, breastfeeding, watching, like, Gaza get just blown up. It was like, oh, this is not healthy. I gotta find something else to do. Mm-hmm. It was like... So then I got on the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce algorithm.
Okay.
Which I also was like, this is new.
Okay, so you didn't make it into the anti-vax pipeline.
I did not make it there.
Okay.
So,
because I remember even being in some Facebook groups where it was like, even I at one point was like, oh, should I do a delayed vaccine schedule? You know what I mean? People are just like bringing things up and you're scared and you don't know, and you're like so susceptible to... Maybe some of it's disinformation. A lot of it's probably just misinformation. Not everybody, you know, it's a lot of people who don't have medical degrees giving information, and that's where I think it just... I see both sides of it, you know what I mean? And people don't really like to hear that. But I just think there's a whole group of women and moms who came up kind of screaming about some certain things and weren't really listened to. And then they finally found somebody that was listening to them. And it's, unfortunately, RFK Jr.
So here's a good question for you as, like, supporting moms, having empathy, understanding... Like, and I believe that most of us are just doing our best.
Totally.
And then there are, without naming names, there's other mom groups that are, like, antithetical to what you're doing and what I believe in. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what is your line? Because you just said you can see both sides. It's like, what is your line, if you figured that out, as far as, like, when you, like, another mom and what it was like, I see you, I see what you're, like, I see that you're trying and I can understand how you got here, versus the, like, nope, don't fuck with you.
I think somebody who asks questions in, like, good faith, I'm always willing to talk to. I think somebody who's, like, constantly out there prioritizing talking points that are incredibly dangerous, either, like, medically or to the community, or a lot of usually, like, anti-LGBTQ type stuff. Mm-hmm. I just don't fuck with that. But so with Mother's Day coming up, what are you doing?
My parents are coming down.
Okay.
So we're probably gardening.
Oh my God, I love it. Do you like to garden?
I'm getting into it. And so my mom is an unbelievable gardener.
All moms are, and now I know why.
I love how much you're getting. Also, I loved your quote that kids are more like hostas than orchids. I love that. But, like, my mom is a very visual person for all things like decorating the house or like the yard, and she can kind of see what we need to do. So it's always a big weekend to be able to have her just tell me what to do, and then I do the physical labor of actually doing it and then maintaining it.
Yeah.
So they're coming down. And she doesn't really like brunch, so I think we're gonna do dinner Saturday night. Just all hang out together on Sunday.
I love it.
Yeah.
What's your, like, what would you say is the most unexpected thing for you about motherhood?
I think it's just, like, it's what I said before, honestly. Because I feel like there is a lot of, it's like going back to the Chapel Row and, like, oh, none of my friends are happy who have kids. Mm-hmm. And I think there is a fair amount of...
I stayed far away from that.
Yeah.
That bait.
Like, there is a fair amount of conversation now, which is, like, the swing towards necessary conversation of how hard it is to be a mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's, like... You don't understand how great it is until you actually are a mom.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I've been really lucky so far because I have a great partner. Like... it's yet to bring me to my knees. I know it will, but like it's yet to be there. And so it's like just the fact that like every day is kind of like, what are you going to do today? Mm-hmm. And it's just like the laughter and like seeing the just like why this is not a very eloquent answer, but it's just like,
I mean it's the joy of it, right?
Yeah, it's just the fact that it's like at any given week there's like, oh, you're doing something new and you are surprising me and you're funny and you're curious and you challenge me to slow down. And I think especially after being like as ambitious and like kind of a rolling stone as I've been for most of my life, to just chill with her and to go at her pace.
Yeah, you're really good about that.
I try.
I was not a chill. I'm chill now, but like with my first I was
one.
not chill.
And again, like I kind of bring it back to I was 37 when I had her.
Mm-hmm.
I had done a fair amount of things, and I think having the right husband, like, it was a little easier to have the status, like, to have the like, we're gonna be good.
Yeah. Like,
she's good, she's resilient, and not the I'm doing this wrong feeling, which I think is really normal for most first moms to have.
It is really normal, and I think it, like, society puts a lot of pressure on that. Like, we're supposed to, like, have it all figured out. But it is, to your point, what's the balance of, like, it's helpful to be able to vent and talk about how it's not, like, a joyous rainbow all the time, but then also, but that doesn't mean that it's not awesome,
I don't know if it was in the cut. Someone wrote a really good piece about, like, it's harder to capture how individual like, it's a very relatable experience of, like, your kid's meltdown. Like, the stuff that's hard becomes very easy to write or make content about and have it find an audience of people who've also gone through that versus, like, the very individual magical thing your kid does that you find incredible. Mm-hmm. It's harder to capture that and make it as relatable. Mm-hmm. And so we end up having a lot less. I mean, I think that's sometimes why videos of kids do really well, but, like, in the attempt to write about it, it's harder. It's like you had to be there. Yeah, mm-hmm. Like, you kind of have to know my kid to understand why this was so funny or cool or heartwarming or whatever. And so you get a lot less, like, thought pieces on the parts of it that are just, like, the best. Yeah.
Well, and I think I love, like, kind of this transformation that, like, becoming a mom almost has gone through a branding evolution where, like, moms are kind of reclaiming themselves after they have kids, too. Because I do think even probably when our moms had small kids, it was just, like, all about the kids. And, like, they probably had some communities in the neighborhood and stuff, but
I also feel like, I remember, like, especially I'm imagining in Middleton, like, being let go. Like, of, like, being on my bike for hours.
Oh, yeah.
And my mom not knowing where we were and, like, getting in trouble a couple times because she really didn't know where we were.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like, the freedom of, like, playing, that living in the neighborhood I live in, Milwaukee, I'm like, are you ever going to have that? Because I can't, like, just not know where you are. And so, like, there is, like, a little bit that was, like, all about the kids, and my mom was certainly an all about the kids mom. But I also think in the 90s, there still was, at least where we grew up, some, like, just get out of the house.
Well, conservative influencers who are women are now pushing this whole narrative that actually you need to be, like, sending your kid into the grocery store while they're 4 and they need more independence and that you need to leave them alone more. So I try to track kind of different things like that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and see where it's trying to go. I'm not sure what the angle is with that one, but it's definitely some sort of coordinated effort. I keep seeing it pop up.
Have you seen the Japanese show where they send, like, a 2-year-old? There's a whole show that's...
No, but I think they've talked about that.
And it's like obviously they're okay because there's a camera crew following them, but it's like a 2-year-old in Japan, like, going to the grocery store. And you're watching them, like, navigate their world. And to a certain extent, again, I understand that there's, like, a pipeline that you're like, where is this leading to? And I also kind of am in, like, a lot of the stuff that Jonathan Haidt is writing about social media and the coddling of the American mind. Like, there's some of that stuff that I do think has some value in it as far as, like, building resiliency.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I don't know what the angle is, like, what they're pushing.
Yeah. I mean, I think as with everything, what is successful online is usually something that is of one extreme or the other, and pointing at another thing and saying that's wrong. You know, anything that drives a little bit of outrage is, like, going to do better. So I think those are the narratives you see. But as you and I are talking, it's clear, it's like, I think somewhere in the middle of everything is usually kind of the best, right? Like, yes, motherhood is beautiful and, like, really freaking nuts and awful sometimes, and you want your kids to ride around on their bike safe and sound, but also you want to keep them safe. Like, of course.
Has Charlie started climbing trees yet?
Yeah.
That was the one for me that I was like, oh, not that Frankie's climbing trees, but, like, that feeling of, like, thinking about the trees I climbed and, like, how high I got growing up. And I was like, how did my mom just, like, watch me do this and not have a heart attack? But she did it.
I know, maybe we should ask them.
And I think they're just going to give some boomer answer that's like, I don't know, you survived. You, like, look at your car seat from the, like, late 80s. You're like,
oh my
wait,
God.
what? This is like a bathtub. Like, it's like a plastic bin bathtub.
Actually, yeah, we don't have to ask them, I know. Because my mom, like, you know, they're like, you were fine. We put you in this crib with all 10,000 stuffed animals.
Your bumper. Your blanket. She's
they
gonna
just
be cold.
They just went like, please keep my children safe. And here we are.
Thriving.
Trying to thrive. Anything else you want to say?
The name of the radio show. I guess I didn't say that.
Oh, yeah.
Point Taken, 10 to 12, Monday through Friday. You can also subscribe to it as a podcast. It's very fun. It's supposed to bring kind of the energy of, like, a sports talk show, but we're talking about politics, but it's not as academic as a lot of, I think, political talk shows are. And it's boomer, male, more conservative, and everything you just saw with me.
So if you feel like you need to have a few more counterpoints to your thinking, it's a safe place to start.
And we also get Republicans, like, much more Republican people on the show, because, like, that's his network.
Like Robin Voss?
Well, he's reached out to Robin Voss, and he has not gotten back to us yet. But, like, Brian Stile will come on the show. Glenn Grothman will come on the show. We could probably get Tom Tiffany. So, like, that is the one benefit now of, like, this station and this co-host is a wider variety of people who will say yes to an interview.
Who's been, like, have you had any, like, big Republicans in yet since the show switchover?
We're having Josh Schoeman on tomorrow. The guy who just announced his campaign for GOP governor.
Yeah, I don't want to come after him. He hasn't pissed me off yet, though, you know? What about any that pissed you off? I mean, you're a professional, so you're, like, kind to them.
Ron Johnson won't come on the show because Steve pissed him off in some way. Steve, like, asked him too many questions about something, so Ron Johnson won't come on the show.
Shocker.
I think Robin Voss would, once he has something that he wants to talk about. Brian Stile would. I think most of them would. I don't know if Derek Van Orden would. I don't know if Tony Weed might. You know, Tony Weed's just, like, dodging Kristin whenever he sees her.
Yeah, I would be scared. I wouldn't want to be on Kristin's bad side.
She's, like, the nicest person I've ever met in my life.
I know, but...
She's much nicer than you or I.
Much, much nicer. I mean, she delivers babies, for God's sakes. I'm out here, like, making videos in the car. Okay, well, thanks for joining.
Was this what you thought it would be?
This was much longer than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
I thought this was going to be, like, 15 minutes.
Well, this is just how we...
This is a special inaugural guest episode.
You'll have to, like, chapter this out for people.
Yeah, I will. Exclusively on YouTube, Kate and Kristin talking shit.
What was it? Millennials crashing out in cars?
Oh, what did I say?
Yeah, millennials crashing out in cars. That limits you, though.
Millennials and cars crashing out.
There you go. All right.
Until next time.